My name is Adam. I've signed over 355 SMMA clients for my SMMA, not for any other business, but specifically for social media marketing. And what I'd love to do in this video is show you how I actually cracked outreach, because it's not just about a secret script or one fancy strategy that I use that nobody else used. It's actually about understanding numbers, how to manipulate numbers, and how to do so to get results. I filmed this exact training when I was in the aggressive stage of scaling my agency, the in the trenches, day in, day out, testing new strategies, testing new outreach methods, and literally doing everything I could to scale it to 7 figures. You're gonna hear from me when I was deep in that period, which is why I want to give you this training instead of recreating this now myself. Without further ado, let's roll the video. Do not skip this section. I know you're seeing the word accounting and you're thinking, oh my God, I don't want to do accounting. But it's a lot deeper than accounting. I want to show you the importance of learning your numbers, right? So finances is one thing, but your numbers in terms of outreach and your closing rates for your clients, okay? So all of this is going to be really important. And this is stuff that a lot of people skip, right? But ultimately, this is the kind of stuff that was able to take me from 0 to 6 figures relatively quick. It wasn't any magic strategy. It was knowing these numbers and being obsessive about improving the numbers, okay? So do yourself a favor and definitely listen to this for the next 10 minutes. So we're gonna first off not look at the accounting, we'll get onto that in a bit, but we're gonna look at the numbers you need to know. You really need to understand your outreach metrics, right? You need to study these every single week. Okay, so I'm gonna run you through a few examples of things you should be looking at. So how many messages did I send this week? How many emails did I send? How many calls did I take? How many clients did I close? How many prospects didn't show to my calls? What's my close rate? What's my conversion rate from message to call? Okay, so this might seem a bit overwhelming, but let's just go through them one by one, right? So first off, this is the most important one. How many messages did I send? So you need to optimize this number, right? So if you're only sending 10 messages a week, you're probably not going to be getting clients anytime soon. You've got to set up a system and a strategy that you can follow, okay? So if you can do 50 per day and you can do that for 7 days, that's 350 for an entire week. So first off, you want to optimize this. You want to send more messages, right? Secondly, how many emails did you send? Okay, so if you are doing cold emails, you want this number to be very, very high as well. If, however, you are using cold messaging as your first port of contact, and then your second is email, like what I do, where I DM brands and then I get their email and I email them a case study, then I obviously won't have this email number be as high as the messages. So the messages might be 1K messages per week, the emails might be 100, but again, we want to try and increase this. So right now I'm trying to take that from around 100 to 150 to 200 to 300 plus, right? Because if I can dial that in and improve that, I can just improve the amount of calls and clients that I get. How many calls did you take? Okay, if for example you were sending tons of messages and emails and not getting calls, there's something wrong. There's a missing link there where you're just not catching people's attention, right? And they're getting your email or they're getting your message, but they're not getting hooked in, and you're not doing a good enough job on getting their attention. So that's something you really need to optimize as well. How many clients did you close? Obviously extremely important. How many prospects did not show, right? So for example, if you find that a lot of prospects are not showing up, there's a lot of things you can do to improve that, right? One thing we do is that when someone books a call with us, they will get a notification 24 hours before the call, an hour before the call, and 15 minutes before the call, right? So that means that they're getting 3 notifications about our call. We're literally spamming them to make sure they hop on the call. Also telling people to cancel if they cannot show, right? So if you book a call and you cannot show, just cancel. Don't waste our time, tell us in advance and we'll cancel it ourselves. So let's just take a look at 2 metrics here that you want to be tracking, which is what's my close rate, right? So your close rate realistically is just going to be the amount of calls you do divided by the number of clients you closed. So if you do 10 calls and you close 1, that means you've got a close rate of about 10%. So again, obviously, if you can optimize this, right, and you can take this from 10% to 15%, that's not going to be a crazy difference in 1 week. But over 3 months, that could be the result of 3 or 4 or even 5 extra clients. So this is really important. If you can take that from 10%, work on your closing strategies, on your sales tactics, and increase that to 20, 30, or even 40%. And then the last one here is your conversion rate from message to call, right? So again, this needs to be good in order to have a good close rate, okay? Because this is what it looks like. You've got your message, you've got your email, you've got your call, and then you've got your close. So you can't get the close if you don't have the call dialed in. You can't get the close if you don't have the email dialed in. And you can't get the close if you don't have the message dialed in. Okay, so if you can increase this conversion rate from message through email all the way to call, then you can increase your close rate from there on out. So this conversion rate is really just going to be the messages you send divided by the number of calls you do. So if you do 100 messages and you get 9 calls, that's 11%. So the math is actually off on that one, just ignore that. But for example, it's just literally how many messages you sent, how many calls you then got from there. So for example, if you do 100 and you get 10 calls, that's the 10% rate. Here's a screenshot from my tracker that I track every single week. And you can just have a look at this here to see what we track. So we track it from Sunday to Saturday, so a 1 week period. We look at the number of emails we sent, the amount of booked calls we got from our outreach. We look at the increase or decrease from the previous week, right? So for example, if we see that it decreases a lot, then we need to fix something. We have did not show, we had one person didn't show. Then we've got the clients who we closed 4. And then what I've got here is the costs, okay? So I pay someone. So we have someone on our team who does outreach for us. So very quickly here, you can see kind of what rates we pay them. We don't pay them a huge amount, but they just follow a script and they do the outreach for us. So this is great because by tracking this, we can see how much it costs us per email, per call, and per client. So on average with our outreach on this week, we paid $4 per client. Now that's a little lower than normal. Normally we might be paying $15, $20 per client, but that's incredible. If you were able to run ads and get a client for $20 or even $50, you would definitely do it. But this is only possible because we are obsessed with the numbers. We track our messages, emails, calls, clients closed, and we improve every single area as much as we can. And we try and look at it unemotionally every week. Relating back to what we talked about in the fundamentals, that you have to have this analytical approach where you can step back unemotionally, look at the results and not get annoyed, not get sad, not get frustrated, right? So if we have a week where we have 0 clients closed, we have to look at this and say, oh, well, that was shit. What can we do right now to improve that next week? Maybe our emails need to be tweaked. Maybe our call strategies were just terrible last week. We need to fix that. So I'm going to show you that tracker now, and you can copy and paste this for yourself and set it up for yourself. So I would recommend you to customize this, right? So this is just for the strategy that I primarily use, which is DMs, emails, calls, and close. Okay, so it's a 4-step process. If you are doing a different strategy, you're going to have to adapt it to that. But I'm just going to show you here and I'm going to fill it out for you and show you what will happen, right? So you just track it Sunday to Saturday, right? So if you just double click on this one, it's the 9th. So if you were to set up the next week, you would just copy it down here, click on it again and just click the next day. And you just repeat that over and over, okay? So let's look at it for here and let's just say we sent 100 emails. As you see, this will pre-populate for you. This is incredibly powerful. We get a full chart of all of our results. It's really, really good. Let's say we got 10 calls. Okay, so we've got, look, boom. We've got our emails up here. We've got our calls down here. We've got, let's say, 1 didn't show. So we've got 9 people showed up and we closed 3 clients. Let's say we paid our VAs, we paid them $50, okay? That's more than we normally pay, but let's just say it's $50. What's great here is now we get into the juicy stuff over here. So we can see that we paid 50 cents per email, $5 per call, and $17 per client. So this is really powerful because if you can decide, hey, I'm willing to spend $100 per client or $200, you can ultimately just work this back and you can just figure out how much of these things you need to do, right? So this is really powerful. And again, when you fill this out fully, this entire thing right here, this entire thing will be filled out. So if I was to just go in here, let me just put in a bunch of data for you and you can just see this in action, okay? So I'm gonna do a few big numbers and small ones so we can see how it will look very skewed if your results are all over the place, right? So ultimately, we've got a trend line in there as well. If you see that light blue line that's going across the screen. And that's really powerful because that means we can keep our kind of momentum going, right? So if we see that, okay, look, our trend line is up every month, that's good. If this was going down, it was the opposite and it started up here and went down, we'd know that something is wrong, right? And again, then we can do it for our calls as well. So let me just put in random data just so you can see how this works. And again, I want you to copy this for yourself. I'm going to clear this out. You'll have the link to the blank thing. And all you got to do is just make a copy of this document and save it to your drive, okay? So now we can see as well, we've got a trend line for our calls. And our calls is pretty steady, okay? So it's been pretty straight, that's fine. And lastly, we can put in our clients closed. So you can edit all of this. You can edit this to include your clients closed as well. So you could have a graph with all your clients. But again, this is just to get you obsessing about the numbers because, as I mentioned, obsessing about these numbers is really what separates people from getting clients to scaling fast. It's knowing these numbers and being obsessive about them. Right, now next up, we're going to look at the accounting side of things, right? Let me just go back in here. So that's the sample outreach tracker. You can click on that link, copy and paste it for yourself. Definitely use that. That's incredibly valuable. Okay, so you do not need to be an accountant, right? I'm not an accountant. I don't like doing it, but there's a few things that I must track, okay? So got to track my money coming in, my money going out. All right. Ultimately, this is for two reasons. Number one, you will know how much profit you are making. You will also know where the money is leaking out of your business, right? If you are spending a lot of money on VAs that aren't doing a whole lot and not getting you booked calls, you can cut that cost, retrain them, redo your scripts, or just fire them and find someone else, right? You need to track these numbers because if you don't track these numbers, you won't know where your money's going and where it's coming in, right? So you could sign new clients. Let's say you have 5 new clients in a month, but your VAs have started being very unproductive and they're spending way too long doing tasks and loads of other things, and you could find that your profit margin is actually kind of going down, right? So obviously they'd have to do a lot of work for you to have your profit margin go down, but it is possible and it is something you need to be on top of. Now, secondly, right, you won't have to scramble later on in the year when taxes are due, right? If you are in a country, which most of you will be, if you're in a country, which most people are, where you have to pay taxes, as in there's no 0% tax, then you're going to have to pay taxes, right? So you need to have all of this stuff in row because when that time comes, you don't want to be scrambling thinking, oh my God, I have to do all my accounting. You want to just have it done, right? Done, don't have to worry about it. So you can focus on running your business, building your business and making more money rather than finding all your old invoices and doing your accounting. So this is a very, very basic accounting spreadsheet that I've set up for you to use. So I've put together a really basic accounting spreadsheet for you. Literally tracks the very, very minimum stuff that you got to be tracking: money in, money out, and profit. Okay, so I'm going to show you how that works now. You'll find the link here. Again, just copy this link, make a copy of the spreadsheet and add it to your own Google Drive. Okay, so if we click on this here, we'll just open this up. So as you see, I've just put in the basic layout for you here of January. This is money in, the costs, and before your payouts. Okay, so for example, we're going to go through an example. What I like to do here is I put in my client names, right? So I'd put in like client name 1, and let's say we've got 3 clients. You just change these up. And this is just so you can kind of see then a snapshot. You can just open up this spreadsheet at any time and see, okay, I've had these 4 clients. Next month I have these 5 clients. I got these 6 clients, etc., etc. Okay, so we're going to put in how much they paid you. One was 500, one was 1K, and then you got a big one. You got a 2K-er, okay? Unreal. So this is all in euro. If you want to change this to anything else, just highlight all of these, right, like this. Go to format, come into number, and then change that over to USD or whatever other currency. And you just have to do that for each one. It'll only take you 2 minutes. Okay, so that's what we've got here. Then we're gonna, as you can see, this totals up, right? So this will add up basically all of the revenue here, all right? So again, this is nothing crazy or revolutionary, but it's gonna help you stay on track with all this stuff. So if we add in stuff there, it'll all add up, okay? So we got 3.5K revenue, awesome. Then our costs, we're gonna say we have a VA and we've got some softwares. Okay, and our VA, we're paying 200 a month, and our software is 100. Then we see total cost, 300, profits before payouts, 3.2. And then if you pay yourself or you just keep the money in the thing, that's up to you. Obviously, you'd have to look at, actually talking to an accountant to figure out what to do here. Most people will just keep most of the money in here for the start anyway, while you're getting going. And then you might begin just to pay yourself a small salary out of that. Of course, you could just take all the money out as well, but just make sure you have enough money for taxes and all that other stuff, okay? So again, this is done all the way to August, so you can just copy and paste it then for the rest of the months. And yeah, really, really easy to use. It'll just help you keep on track. And it's just to give you an overview, so when you come in here, you can just have one for each new year. You got a very clear document of who's paying you money, what are you paying money to, or who are you paying money to, and how much money are you actually making. Alright. Now I truly hope that you got some value from that video, and I truly hope that you now have a different insight, a different lens of viewing outreach. This was a training that I pulled from my paid mentorship program. It's old, it's outdated, and we have since updated all the material, but I still think there's a lot of value in this. If you'd like more information about how you could work directly with me and get my results guarantee, where I guarantee you to sign clients for your business, you can click the link below this video, book in a quick call, and we'll chat there.